And just also let me just take you back, because I always like to understand the background that you grew up in and how exactly it influenced you to be who you are today. Where did you grow up? Because I think Susan just popped onto our socials.
Well, I grew up in a very close-knit family. My mom was a teacher. So you can imagine when your mom is a teacher, we had to pass, you know. So I went to a national school.
What did mom used to teach where? High school?
Primary school. Yeah, it was rough, you know, because like you had to do the right thing. You know, maths teacher. She's my music teacher. Yeah. So
Interesting. So she taught maths and
English and music.
So mwalimu wa math. When we talk about mwalimu wa math, it's your mother.
The strokes.
All right, interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, I lived, it was quite strict, you know, you had to do well in your education. So I mean, that was a non-negotiable. You have to do your chores. So I think the values that I have right now were inculcated in me from a young age.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You grew up in a single mom, with a single mom, or?
Both my parents are alive and they're together. They've been married, I think, for over 40 years now. Yeah, it's a happy marriage and it's a family of 5 kids.
5 kids?
Yeah.
Number?
2.
Number 2?
Yeah.
Interesting. And what was dad doing?
My dad actually incidentally worked at KRA. So you can imagine,
Mulipa,
to jitegemea. You just have to do the right thing. He's a tax collector.
And your mom is mwalimu wa math.
Oh my gosh. So can you imagine? No, does it explain everything? Does it explain
the tax
me?
collector and the math teacher.
I mean, I had nowhere to run. You just have to live and do, you know, there was a very narrow...
Yeah, there's a narrow line.
The path, yes. It's like the path to heaven.
Interesting. And how was your upbringing like? How did they, what's it called? How did you grow up? Where did you grow up? And how exactly?
So I actually grew up in Langata, LA, as we used to call it. LA was cool those days. But then, of course, moved onwards. But growing up in Langata was fun. You know, it was very, I think I was sheltered. You know, my focus was more on the family, more about education, so studied a lot. I was a nerd. Used to go to the library, Kenya National Library.
What did you study?
I studied in, what do you mean?
Your primary, your secondary?
I went to a school in Langata, incidentally called Langata West. But we were the best in Nairobi, my years. You know, with the 600 marks and the high 500s, you know. And then later on, I went to Kabarak, then Makini School.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then I also read you also went on and studied law. What did you want when you were a kid? What did you want to be?
I mean, my mom was a teacher. I mean, I've already given you the background, so I didn't have a choice. I had a big passion. I really wanted to become an interior designer or like fashion, because I became a model thereafter. I'm sure you also know that. I won a pageant, but my parents were like, you have to get the basic education, which I'm really grateful for now, by the way, because now I'm a lawyer. You know, so I went to law school.
Here in Kenya? Or?
Here in Kenya, but I also worked in the family business full time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And maybe just, what's it called? You mentioned that your mom was a teacher, your dad was in KRA, and primarily maybe they inculcated that element of education.
Yes.
But when you look back, what are some of the elements that you say that probably your parents really had a stronghold on you and maybe enabled you become who you are today?
Well, I think it's just the value of hard work. The fact that there were people who did the right thing. They didn't have money. They were simple people. My dad was a civil servant. My mom was a teacher. These are very basic people. They came straight from Shags. You know, the Nairobi story. First generation in Nairobi. They don't have a fallback plan. They don't have rich relatives. They just met, relocated. We lived in a government house. Simple, basic family.
In Langata?
Yeah. In Rubia Estate, actually. You know, so it was, what they used to do was, I remember them teaching us how to save. We'd count their savings every month and put it under their bed in a box. And they'd take it out and we'd count all the money they'd saved. Yeah, so every single month we'd count and they'd remind us, you know, like, you have to keep saving. You have to keep saving. So it was just like, you have to live your life with values. And it's not about living a flashy life, it's living a simple life, living an even more simple life because you have to save. And they always talked about the future. Like, you know, we have to start a business eventually. You know, your dad is going to retire and we don't have a business, so what's going to happen? You know, this is going to happen, what's the next? So they really included us in the family making decisions.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So when was the family business set up and how was it like? Because primarily what I'm getting from you is that your parents really involved, what's it called? They involved you guys as children in their particular planning. When did the family business set up?
Well, I think they didn't have a choice because my mom also was not too well educated being a teacher at the basic level. So when we started going to school, she also depended on us to do the paperwork, you know. I mean, type for me this email, type for me this letter. So we didn't have a choice. We had to work together. So I would say that it started, I think it's just, I can't say that it started when I was 19. All the way, because you can imagine counting the coins, you know, putting that money away, having the conversations, you know, making decisions together. So I think my whole life was just like, even before the business, there was a business, you know.
Because they were inculcating the aspect of being financial acumen and stuff.
Absolutely.
Interesting.